continues not to make financial sense.
Mr. CEO.
Thank you. Just a couple of points of clarification on between the two slides. As I read this, Allison, we are making under debts and liabilities in the first slide, we are making our last payment of $150,000 toward the Munis financial system. So that is a debt and obligation that is going away. The $800,000 for underfunding of the POB is a current debt that is going away.
Right.
So if we're looking for positive news, there in that aspect, there's $950,000 of debt that is going away between 1 year and another that will be available to us next year. And Mill Creek is something, of course, that we're trying to find other sources of funding through resolution of our lawsuit, plus also some grant opportunities and ADA implementation, where our office is committed to looking for other sources for that funding too, including the CDBG funds. So there are a couple of things in your slides that this is the last year for, and then we'll go away after that point. So I just want to, if I'm correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are a number of ways of attacking these debts and liabilities. And the reason why some of these programmatic ones appear here is because they're over several years, that, you know, there's kind of an amount that has to be paid on a sequential basis that you don't have with your normal kind of funding of a specific project.
Supervisor.
Where in this budget does it show the teeter plan, the debt, the total debt, the, 5.1? Where's it in the budget?
I'll let you answer.
It's not in the teeter plan budget unit 1930.
Well, in the department submitted budget, I think it shows what was it? Was it 5.1? Did that show there? And
what is our teeter plan debt right now?
Approximately $17 million.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, I don't see that any numbers in here, any place in the budget book.
No, it's not shown there. No. Perhaps it's.
Well, that's a huge debt to not show in your finances.
And I'll be sure and put that in there next year.
Where, if I could ask, where would one look for something like that?
Well, it might be in the comments, just on the budget page for 1930.
Okay, so we could add that as part of the final budget.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. We will make sure that that's reflected in the budget.
Yeah, because if a member of public comes to this budget unit 1930, they, you know, there's nothing, there's no word of the teeter plan debt, what it is. I mean, what are we paying off? What's the amount?
That's a really good point. This is clearer than miscellaneous, but, you know, we've got a ways to go still.
Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, to offset the CEO's good news, the $950,000 of debt that we are seeing here that will be ending in this fiscal year, which is good news, is more than offset in this $2.4 million of the teeter plan that we're now not paying. So if you roll that into the amortization schedule, can you give us the number of from the amortization schedule for next year that we now have to add $2.4 million to? In other words, it seems to me that we're never going to be able to address the issue. I mean, unless we're going to somehow find $5 million extra next year to fully do what we said we were going to do. So do you have the number of what the amortization schedule says for next year?
My understanding is that each year it was supposed to go up by 100,000. So this year it would have been 2.5 because we were trying to add on to it, et cetera. The next year it would be 2.6. So
I think it would have been 2.6 this year because I think we showed 2.4 was addressing 200,000 of it would have been 2.6.
2.7, 2.5 plus 2.
Yeah.
So it is going to be over $5 million next year. Yeah. So what are our plans to address it then?
I think that from the standpoint of the amortization schedule, by moving the revenues into the budget unit, we are essentially meeting where we had hoped to be on the amortization schedule. What we're not doing is getting ahead of it. The plan, by having both the revenues and the general fund payment together, was that we were going to get in front of and pay off the principal more quickly than we've been doing so far. However, by not being able to make the full payment, we are still putting in all the revenues that previously went into the general fund. So we are staying even. And next year we can try and do a little bit more. Some of it depends on how long this financial state that we're in. And I don't know. I don't want it to sound like, one blames the state for everything. But, at the local level, we have the same challenges that the state has, and we don't have anybody that we can turn to and say, oh, well, we're going to take some of your money, or we're going to pay you late, or we're going to do anything else. And so certainly our ability to weather the current economic times is compromised by the state using us as their piggy bank. That's life. We've got to deal with it. But, it would be nice to have the same resources the state does to be able to say, here, we won't pay you for a while, or, and we don't have that option. The hope would be next year we can do the full payments, and that we don't, we're not losing ground this year, we're just not gaining the ground.
And all of that's understood with respect to the state, but on the other hand, this is a debt that we created internally.